Hey YouTube, and welcome back. Today I thought I would take on a little challenge. Larry68HD, he put a video out here recently about what is the town that you either live in or where you're from, what is it famous for. I thought I would do that little challenge from the town that I'm from, and we'll be coming up on it here shortly. Okay everybody, welcome back. What is your town that you're from, or where you currently live? What is it famous for? Well, the town that I'm from is a little town here in western part of Virginia called the town of Shenandoah. I'm trying to pronounce that correctly. As a native that lives here, we typically kind of roll with the R a little bit more, so it's typically, we call it Shenandoah. So it's really actually Shenandoah. But this little town has got a little population of a little over 2,300 people, and it was founded in 1837 by two brothers. The reason they found it was a lot of its natural resources that was nearby, and one of those natural resources we're actually coming up on right now, and that natural resource is the Shenandoah River. The South Fork of the Shenandoah River in particular. Try to give a view of it. It's a power plant down there. So anyway, this river that was next to this town, which is right here, as we're coming into, was founded in 1837 by two brothers, and they seen that the town of Shenandoah had a lot of natural resources, and back then they found a lot of iron ore, a lot of limestone, various other things that were in the town and all as well. So they decided that you know, hey, this would be beneficial for us. You know, I'm not going to go into too much details and all, but you know, you can look that up on Wikipedia, but I'll try to remember as much as I can and all from that. But basically, they found a lot of natural resources in the town, iron ore, things like that, and the river being so close by. It's a big component of the Civil War. So, you know, pre-1860s, things like that, you know, it was a lot of natural resources came out of here, and there's a lot of campaigns through the valley and through this area that I live in, a lot of Civil War history. So anyway, the brothers had it for a number of years, and then after the Civil War, there was a gentleman that came in, William Millins. I don't know if that was his name officially, but he came in and basically bought up like 32,000 acres, and he ended up modernizing a lot of the iron ore. There was a furnace that they opened, the Big Jim furnace that they opened to do a lot of the melting and refinery of the iron ore at the time. So he modernized a lot of that equipment back in its time. So then all of a sudden, you know, you had your when they got that ore, what they had did at the time, I believe, was they ended up taking it by a horse and wagon to Gordonsville, and you know, they ended up, you know, taking it to Gordonsville, and then eventually it would be shipped off to Richmond and, you know, elsewhere in the state. So because the town is so close to the river, they ended up ferrying a lot of that ore, a lot of those resources and stuff that they got in the town. They ended up ferrying it up to Harper's Ferry, which is up in the northern neck of the state, borderline between West Virginia and Virginia, and I'm assuming eventually that it would be shipped off to the Potomac River as well. So, you know, they did all that. Well, I believe it was about probably in the 1880s, the Shenandoah Valley Railroad decided to come through the town. So they ended up, I believe at the time, they ended up tracking railroad through here probably like in the 1880s, 1890s. Might have been a little bit later in the start of the 20th century. So, you know, they brought the railroad through the town, and that's really what made the town take off at its time. You know, the railroad really brought a lot of popularity there. The Millens at the time, they called it the Shenandoah Iron Works and founded the first post office, is what it was at one time called, the Shenandoah Iron Works. So they, you know, brought the railroad through here. It became really popular. You know, brought a lot of businesses, and I mean, this is way before my time. So, you know, at one time it was called Shenandoah City, just for how, you know, ambitious it was, and a lot of things that were done back at that time. You know, we're talking, you know, way over 150 years ago or more. So as like I said, the town became more popular, and you know, things grew with the railroad at that time. You know, businesses came in, and I want to say that, you know, during that time, the railroad and the whole popularity of it probably peaked up until the 1950s, late 1950s, 1957, 56. Is basically, that was pretty much the turning point of this whole town. You know, things started getting rerouted. You know, the railroad, the Shenandoah Valley Railroad, which later became Norfolk Western, they ended up rerouting a lot of their freight and a lot of their railroad elsewhere. So it, you know, there's still a rail yard here, and I'll go by that, but it's, you know, it's not as heavily used as it was during its heyday back in the early part of the 20th century. So, you know, it kind of slowed down. So actually this part right here, this is the only stoplight that is in this little town right here. And this is probably the most busiest part of it right here. A lot of the businesses were basically adjacent to the railroad, which we're coming up on here in a minute. And it's it was actually called Front Street. So a lot of these businesses were up on Front Street that we're going to come up on here in just a minute. There was a hotel. There was like just various things, you know, early turn of the century. And they we'll go Front Street right here. It's a historic downtown, old railroad town. There's still a rail station right here. There's rail yards right there as well. Make sure I can get this shot. It's now founded by Norfolk Southern, but this right here is Front Street. They're trying to rejuvenate it a little bit, but it was, like I said, it was very big thing back in its day. They had a lot of fires in this town at one time that burned. They had like a great fire back in the 1890s. There was a famous hotel called the Shenandoah Hotel, and I believe it burned in the early part of the 20th century, but it was very popular. And so, you know, they ended up losing a lot of that stuff and just never rebuilt it. And because the railroad went out of there, you know, it just wasn't as popular as it once was. And, you know, other cities and other towns eventually progressed and ended up becoming more popular than this one. So, you know, life kind of slowed down. and it just really hasn't, it's just been that way ever since. So like I said, is going through this part of town right now. This is actually Route 340. This is the main road through the town, and probably the most popular one. You know, little businesses came and gone, and you know, for a population of a little over 2,300 people, it's a little sleepy town. Actually, that right there is where the Big Jim Furnace used to be too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, drop me a like, leave me a comment. Also, do me a favor and check out Larry68HD's channel, and go ahead and check out the challenge that he did on his channel for what his area is famous for. So thanks for watching, and y'all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.